Look at this place. Just over 2 square kilometers of land, resting between the mountains and the Mediterranean Sea. It has no oil, no natural resources, almost no space left to grow. By every rule of history, a country like this should have struggled to survive. But then came a story no one saw coming. Monaco, today, it is home to the highest concentration of millionaires and billionaires on Earth, where every street, every building, and every square meter is worth a fortune. So how did this tiny Mediterranean principality become the world's capital of billionaires? The location. To understand Monaco's success, you first have to understand its location. At first glance, it doesn't look special. Just 2.08 square kilometers of rocky coastline squeezed between France and the Mediterranean Sea. Small enough to fit inside New York's Central Park. Today, millions of people know this place as Monaco. Its warm climate, breathtaking sea views, and location on the French Riviera make it easy to reach from Nice, Milan, Geneva, and Paris. But long before luxury yachts and billionaires arrived, this location was prized for a different reason. It was a natural fortress. In 1297, Francesco Grimaldi entered the gates disguised as a monk, then opened them for his soldiers. His family has ruled Monaco ever since. The location helped Monaco survive, but it would take one bold decision to make this tiny rock one of the richest places on Earth. Location alone never creates wealth. It only creates opportunity. By the 1800s, Europe's richest families were already traveling to the French Riviera to escape cold northern winters. The sunshine, the blue Mediterranean, the peaceful coastline. Monaco was sitting right in the middle of it. The perfect location was already there. The wealthy were already passing by. Monaco simply needed one reason for them to stop. That reason would change its future forever. A casino unlike anything Europe had ever seen. The big gamble. By the middle of the 19th century, Monaco was running out of time. The country had lost 95% of its land, its economy was collapsing, and the future of the Grimaldi family was uncertain. Prince Charles III knew that doing nothing would mean losing everything. So, he took the biggest gamble in Monaco's history. He decided to build a casino. In 1863, the famous Monte Carlo Casino opened its doors. The new district was named Monte Carlo, meaning Mount Charles, after the prince himself. The casino was more than a place to gamble. It became a symbol of luxury, attracting Europe's aristocrats, royalty, and wealthy businessmen who came to enjoy a lifestyle they could not find anywhere else. Hotels, restaurants, theaters, and beautiful gardens soon appeared around it. Money began flowing into Monaco for the first time in generations. The casino did not simply save the country's economy. It gave Monaco something even more valuable, a new identity that the richest people in Europe wanted to be part of. The casino saved Monaco. But it also changed the way the world saw it. What began as a gambling destination slowly became a place where Europe's richest families wanted to spend their winters. Luxury hotels, elegant gardens, fine restaurants, and beautiful homes replaced the image of a struggling seaside principality. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1956, Hollywood actress Grace Kelly married Prince Rainier III in a wedding watched by millions worldwide. Almost overnight, Monaco became more than a country. It became a dream. The Monaco Grand Prix, royal celebrations, luxury yachts, and glamorous events turned this tiny principality into a global symbol of wealth and prestige. Soon, athletes, business leaders and celebrities wanted to live here because living in Monaco had become a statement of success. The casino had attracted visitors. Its new image convinced them to stay, and the next decision would give them the perfect reason to never leave. The tax magnate, the casino, gave Monaco money, but one decision made it truly rich. In 1869, Prince Charles III abolished personal income tax for almost everyone living in Monaco. At the time, it was a bold gamble. The casino was earning so much money that the prince believed the country no longer needed to tax its residents. That single decision changed Monaco forever. Suddenly, the world's wealthiest people had a place where they could enjoy the Mediterranean lifestyle while keeping more of the money they had earned. There was no personal income tax, no tax on capital gains, and no wealth tax for most residents. Year after year, entrepreneurs, business owners, athletes, and investors chose to move here. Monaco was no longer attracting people only because of its casino. It attracted them because it offered something almost no other country could: the freedom to grow wealth without giving part of it away. The policy worked exactly as Monaco had hoped. At first came European aristocrats and wealthy businessmen. Then came Formula One champions, movie stars, entrepreneurs, and billionaires from around the world. For them, moving to Monaco was more than a lifestyle choice. It was a financial one. Keeping millions every year was reason enough to buy a home on this small Mediterranean coast. Soon, private banks, luxury brands, and wealth management companies followed their clients. By 2023, more than 30% of Monaco's residents were millionaires, giving the country the highest concentration of wealthy people anywhere on Earth. But success brought attention. In 2024, regulators placed Monaco under increased monitoring over concerns about money laundering. The billionaires kept coming. But Monaco now faced a new challenge. How could the world's richest country protect its reputation while continuing to attract the world's richest people? The land problem: the more billionaires moved to Monaco, the more valuable every piece of land became. But there was one problem: Monaco could not grow. The country covers just 2.08 square kilometers, and almost every corner has already been built. There are no empty neighborhoods waiting for new homes, no open land waiting for new streets. As demand kept rising and space stayed the same, property prices climbed higher and higher. Today, Monaco has the world's most expensive real estate market. In some areas, prices have reached more than 100,000 per square meter, making London, New York, Hong Kong, and Singapore look inexpensive by comparison. Even the famous Odeon Tower penthouse, once valued at $335 million, became a symbol of this extraordinary market. In Monaco, luxury is no longer measured by the size of a home. It is measured by the chance of owning one at all. The problem was that it was no longer attracting wealthy people. The problem was finding somewhere to put them. Most countries would accept that they had run out of land. Monaco refused. Instead of expanding across the map, it expanded into the Mediterranean Sea. For decades, Monaco has created new land through massive reclamation projects. Districts like Fontvieille were built where there was once only water. Then came its boldest project yet. Le Portier, opened in late 2024, added around 6 hectares of new land to one of the smallest countries on Earth. Built for nearly $2 billion, it created luxury homes, public parks, shops, and a new coastline where none had existed before. It was more than an engineering project. It was a message. Monaco would not let geography decide its future. If the world's richest people needed more space, Monaco would build it. But there was one challenge that no engineering could solve: why France allows it. Just when Monaco's future looked secure, its biggest neighbor stepped in. France, by the early 1960s, thousands of wealthy French citizens were moving to Monaco to enjoy its tax-free lifestyle, living just minutes from France. President Charles de Gaulle had seen enough. In 1963, France placed heavy pressure on Monaco. Border controls were tightened. Fuel supplies were restricted. The message was clear: change your tax system or face the consequences. For a country as small as Monaco, it was a serious crisis. Prince Rainier III knew he could not fight France. So, he negotiated. The final agreement changed one important rule. French citizens living in Monaco would continue paying French taxes, but everyone else would keep Monaco's tax advantages. In trying to weaken Monaco, France had done something unexpected. It had officially recognized Monaco's special tax system. Instead of ending Monaco's appeal, the agreement strengthened it and gave wealthy people from around the world more confidence to move there. Monaco may be independent, but it has never stood completely alone. France protects Monaco's borders, supports its defense, and connects it to roads, electricity, water, and railways. Without France, life in Monaco would be far harder. But the relationship works both ways. Monaco brings visitors, investment, and attention to the French Riviera. Its Grand Prix, casinos, yachts, and a reputation that support nearby cities like Nice, Cannes, and Antibes. France provides security and stability. Monaco attracts global wealth. One offers protection, the other creates opportunity. Together, they built one of Europe's most successful partnerships, and that partnership is the final piece of Monaco's story. Monaco was never supposed to become rich. No oil, no resources, no land, no large population. It should have remained forgotten. Instead, it became the billionaire capital. When bankruptcy came, it built a casino. When it needed revenue, it removed income tax. When space vanished, it built into the sea. Monaco turned limitations into advantages. As night falls, yachts remain, casino lights shine, and the palace watches over the rock. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and tell us which decision mattered most and which country to explore next.